Hey fellas, okay, the commission's back, and I'm sorry for disappearing last week, right at the critical part of the season. But man, between the holidays and business and stuff going on around here, it's popping. I just get caught up. But things did clear up last week. We got a lot of clarification in regards to where things stand. We have a couple of little opportunities for things to switch up this week, but they're kind of unlikely. But I'll go over that in a minute. But anyway, the top three spots have been locked up here in the NFC division. We've got Eagles, Just for Fun, Real Deal locked in at the top three. Bet your money if they could have won their game last week, lost by 1 point to Killer Bees. They would have been one game behind Real Deal. If they could have won again, Real Deal lose again. Tiebreaker, don't forget tiebreakers head to head when you're talking about division records. And Bet your money may have been able to squeeze in there, but a 1 point loss kind of sealed their fate. So they have to hope that Superfly falls and they put up some big points this week so they can catch for that final wild card spot. But those are the top three for the NFC. For the AFC, we have Crusher, No Limit, Bomb Squad, the top three spots. Superfly looks like he's locked up that final wild card spot. Where the watch mark is, watch this guy. He's coming on strong. 770 points. Bet your money at 731. So the 39-point difference. So you need to have Superfly, Super Flop down. Don Mega still calling him Super Flop. Saw him today. He was like, I don't care. He's 3-9. He's Super Flop. But Super Flop is super hot right now. And that's where you want to be. Like it's not when you score. No, I'm sorry, it's not right. John Wooden. Not how many points you score, but when you score. That's what he said. That's right. So Marcus is looking good right now. And so anyway, barring anything crazy going on, he'll be in that final wild card spot, probably around the number 6 seed. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Whoever those top four scoring teams. If I was Eagles, No Limit, Cheddar Wizzies, Crusher, I'd be looking to see what seed I finish in and what seed Superfly is in because I wouldn't want to have to match up with that guy in the first round. He scored 94 last week, 73 I think the week before that, 85 something like that the week before that. So that's where you want to be, hot coming in, and he's coming in hot. Of course, No Limit still scoring. Crusher had a big game last week. Eagles still scoring. So we got some high scoring teams there in the top three or four spots. But like I say, down at the bottom, watch out for Superfly. Uh, as far as housekeeping stuff, individual leaders, I'm going to try to post that here by the end of the day tomorrow. If there's any close races, like the second or third place, I'll put that down on the list. If you don't see a second player on there, that means whoever is the leader has pretty much got a solid lead and likely not to be caught. So you may not see a second place person at that time. Um, Super Bowl party, conference weekend, or NFL conference championship weekend as usual. Third weekend in January, something like that. I'll send out a notification on that. Don't forget we got Vegas next year, 2012, last weekend of August, Saturday. It'll be midday, do it 3 or 4 o'clock. That way it gives people time to come in on Saturday without having to rush down early in the morning. And then also give people time to go home afterwards if they don't want to stay the whole weekend. I'm saying the whole weekend. I don't know about what you're going to do. I'm saying the whole weekend. We had a good time last time. Played a little golf. Got my little gamble on. So we had some fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Rule changes for next year. One thing we're definitely going to do, we're going to add a roster spot. The one thing I noticed this year is during the playoffs, during the bye weeks rather, we had a lot of teams that were playing without one, two. I think one week I even saw somebody playing without three players, and the reason being was that they didn't have enough players uh, so they could pick somebody else up. Most of the players they had on their bench were viable players that they wouldn't want to put out there because somebody else likely would have picked them up. So we don't want to have that because that's when you start giving away wins or you're not getting as many points as you can get because you don't want to pick up a kicker, you don't want to pick up a defense that week because you don't have room to make the moves, and it affects things. You don't realize it in the middle of the season when it's happening, but when you see things close like this, 1 point wins making a difference between getting in the playoffs, getting out of the playoffs, or one loss more than you should have had, or one win you didn't get, maybe you should have gotten. It makes a big difference. So we want to always protect the quality of the league. So we're going to implement that on the commissioner call. The other thing is we've talked about this before. We actually were supposed to vote on it back at the draft, and we let it get by. But the IR list, we are going to create an IR list, one player for injured reserve. What we will vote on is, do we want to pay for that player? Because there's been some discrepancy whether it should be free, should it be about $20, $10, and that's probably what we're going to vote is 0, 10, or $20 for an IR player. The argument for charging for that player is that we don't want to create that position to where people are just putting somebody on IR just to see what happens next year because there's no cost to it. If somebody has to pay $10 or 15, 20, whatever it may end up being, that would be less likely somebody would take a flyer on a player just to see what happens. That would be reserved strictly for those top flight players. Like I lost Jamal Charles, yeah, I'll pay $20 to keep him. But if it's somebody that's middle of the road, I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head, but somebody middle of the road, then maybe I don't want to spend that kind of money on that guy. So it just keeps the flow of players going, the opportunity to make moves going, versus just allowing teams to lock up a player just like say to see what happens in spring training. So I'll put that out there for a vote. I may put that out there tonight, so kind of be watching for it, and that'll be on the poll as to whether we have a $0 fee for the IR pickup or $10 or 20. I think that's the way I put it out there, so we can get a solid vote on that. And aside from that, I think that is it. So stay tuned. We'll see how this all plays out over the weekend, and get into the playoffs and see what happens. Looks like it should be very interesting going into the playoffs. So anyway, that's it for now, fellas, and we'll touch base next week. So good luck to those still out there. To those who didn't make it, I feel you. Peace.